Up next for us is Higgs. I'm always jealous when I see her talks because I'm from the Hudson Valley and she gets to work on sturgeon where I would love to be working the Hudson River. So go ahead.
So we're going to kind of break you out of the lake sturgeon. The next two talks will be about some Hudson River fish. So today I'm going to talk about the identification of some critical habitat that we believe in the Hudson is important for Atlantic sturgeon. And by we, I mean myself, the DET Hudson River Fisheries Unit, and then some collaborators from Delaware that have been doing some work in the Hudson with side-scan sonar and some BEMCO arrays that we've been maintaining in the Hudson. So you guys have seen lots of pictures of the Great Lakes and stuff, but here's a photo of the Hudson. It's 315 miles from Lake Cherry, the Clouds, where it originates, to New York Harbor. 152 miles of it are an estuary, and it's tidal all the way to the Troy Dam. The yellow star is where the work that we did took place in the summer of 2016, June of 2016. So a little bit of life history. I know Lisa hit on some of this morning, but they're anagamists, so they spend a couple years in the river, probably 3 to 5 years in the estuary, and then they move out into the ocean, and they make long migrations up and down the coast. Some of the fish that Dewayne has tagged on the coast of the Delaware moved all the way up to Maine and all the way down to Florida, so they migrate up and down the coast a lot. Some of those fish move into the Hudson as well. So in the Hudson, the maximum observed age is 6 years old. Maturity, males 12 to 15, females a little older. Spawning frequency, I have a question mark because some of the telemetry studies that we're doing suggest that maybe they spawn more often. Males maybe every year, females more often. And that's the kind of stuff we're starting to look into. And the larval fish need fresh water to survive, but as they grow a little older and become juveniles, they use the brackish water. In our juvenile study, our abundance survey that we do every spring, we have learned that salt front is very important to our catches. So they're utilizing the salt front for whatever reason, food availability or whatever. So Lisa mentioned this as well. Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission, New York is a member of that commission. It's a coastally managed fishery. So there's a fisheries management plan that gets put forth, and all the states need to follow all the rules in the fisheries management plans. It's a shared resource, so when we get together, which for sturgeon we will be next week, and looking at all data sources and writing up the stock assessment that's going to be supposedly will be coming out in August. The picture there is a picture from Hyde Park, which is the area that we're going to be talking about in a little bit. It's probably one of the largest spawning areas on the whole coast. The density of fish there sometimes a year is pretty amazing. There was a huge commercial fishery there when the fishery was open. So coastwide landings peaked in the late 1800s and then dropped off, and fishing increased a little bit in the 1980s, not nearly as much as it was in the late 1800s. And the fishery was closed in 96, coastwide in 98, and in 2012, like Lisa mentioned, there was a lot of protections in place, but they still got listed in 2012, which I don't know if it's the same for lake sturgeon, but it makes research a little bit more difficult. NIMS pretty much determines what you can do and what you can't do. They give you a permit, and you can only touch so many fish. So to document recovery is a little bit difficult because they say you can only touch 400 fish, but your population is increasing because there's a lot of protections in place. You have to ask to touch more. And it becomes, well, they are endangered, but yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of a catch-22. So as Lisa mentioned this morning, I threw a little graph up here so you can see. So in 2003, we hired the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the Northeast Fisheries Center guys, to come out and design a survey for our juvenile abundance survey. And then they gave us some great information, and we took it over in 2006 and started to follow the survey that they had designed for us. And you can see that there's an increasing trend. 2003, there was a little dip there. Hurricane Sandy came ashore in October of 2012, and we are thinking that the fish that were kind of starting to set up to overwinter in the fall, 2012, couldn't swim fast enough to maintain their position and got moved way far south of our sampling area, because we sample in the same area every year. So that's what our thoughts are for the little dip in 2013. So because they were listed in 2012 within a certain amount of time, which I think they went past that timeline, they're supposed to designate critical habitat for an endangered species. And you can see what the definition is there. It contains features that are essential to the conservation of that species. So when the federal agency wants to permit or do some work in an area, they're supposed to either avoid or minimize impacts to the habitat. With that comes no restrictions on fisheries, commercial or recreational, because it's really designated habitat that's important for fish. So for the Hudson River, they said that the critical habitat was from the Troy Dam all the way to the Battery, but there was only certain bottom types that were going to be critical to the species. Hard bottom, which is needed for spawning, a salinity gradient for juveniles in fresh water for spawning, and water of appropriate depth. I don't really know what that means. And no barriers to passage. So what Dewayne and John were up doing was using the side scan and the High Park Reach, counting fish, and since they've been there, they've discovered many great things about the bottom of the Hudson. But this past summer, they were up there, and there must have been whatever the moon phase or whatever, there was a ton of fish in the area. Dewayne kept calling me, because we do a small adult survey, squeeze it in between a couple of our more important surveys that we need to do. You gotta get over here, there's fish over here. And then call, no, you gotta get over here, there's more fish over here. You gotta get over here, there's more fish over here. So they tow the side scan behind the boat, and they take some pretty great images of the bottom. So here's a side scan from that day, and you can see some of these are sand waves, which was mentioned earlier today, lake sturgeon and sand waves, and some of the habitats that you're dropping rocks, and there was the moving sand waves. These are the exact same thing in the Hudson, except this river goes two ways, not just one direction. And all of these are sturgeon, and they're all hanging out in the sand waves. So they scanned at the same time, or 20 minutes later, areas of just sands, and there was no fish in them. So for whatever reason, they're keying into these sand waves. And this is about the same time that the critical habitat designation came out. And we were like, well, this obviously seems really important to the fish, so we need to do something. We need to make sure that our comments include this. So we went to the areas where he saw all the fish, and we caught 47 that day, which is the most we've ever caught. It was a complete craziness. Dewayne called me, he's like, are you sure you want to set 3 nets? I'm like, well, just because you're seeing fish doesn't mean you're actually going to catch them. Well, we did. They were all probably average 6 feet long. And it was nice and calm that day too, so the sturgeon gods were with us. So the bottom of the river has been mapped completely from the Troy Dam down to the Battery. And the sand waves were noted, and they called it dynamic habitat because the sand waves are moving over the bottom as time goes on. And we don't know exactly how fast they're moving, but they are moving along the bottom. So the Lamont Doherty had done the bottom mapping in the early 2000s, and they said that they found the waves were sporadic, They varied in height, some were about 3 meters high. They were pure sand with very low organic content, and they added complexity to the river for feeding or resting for fish. And there's other species of sturgeon that are listed, and we looked at those areas, and we saw those designations, and we saw that those similar sturgeon species, do long migrations and spawn in estuaries. They have similar designations for in-river congregation areas or resting areas, and for other species like salmon, they have designated resting areas as well. So we started to look at the sand waves, and this blue area here are the sand waves. So this is the high park reach. And this red is all the hard substrate. And there's a blue area here of sand waves and red of hard substrate. So we started to look at all the known spawning areas. For sturgeon, for land sturgeon in the Hudson, it's been relatively well documented, the known spawning areas. And every single spawning area had sand waves nearby, which made us think that obviously this must be pretty important. So here's just another, picture of the same kind of thing. This is the dynamic sand, and then the hard substrate is right nearby here. So, so the comments that we submitted, we asked NIMS, National Marine Fisheries Service, to protect these areas. We feel that they're important for aggregation, resting, and that all the fish that we caught were in spawning condition. I mean, the males were just leaking milk. So those fish were ready to spawn. They're just waiting for whatever the right cue is, female that's ready or whatever. So so we showed them the pictures of the sand waves versus the sands, and said that that the sand waves, the dynamic areas, were very important for resting congregation, and that protection was needed for those sand waves. So Dewayne is going to talk about this tomorrow. I think maybe Rich might mention it next. But this is right in the middle of the area that Dewayne's working. It's a High Park anchorage. I don't know if anybody's been following any of the Hudson River news, but this, they proposed 10 new anchorages in Hudson. It's become a pretty hot subject. But I don't know, and Dewayne and John I'm sure do, but this anchorage, I don't know if there's any sand waves in the area, but this would be an important reason for protection of those, because the bottom anchors kind of disturb the bottom. There's also a proposed high voltage cable that's going to be going down the river, and I think it was probably in like 2010, the route of the cable was determined. New York State DEC sat down with a lot of our fisheries data and tried to avoid areas that we thought were really important for sturgeon. At that time, we had no idea about the sand waves. This is something more recent. So to try to incorporate that in would be great. I don't know if it's too late at this point, but so that's it.
We have some time for questions.
Yes.
I didn't hear when you did those surveys, but I was wondering what was the impact of Hurricane Irene and Tropical Storm Lee on the structure of those things?
So we've been doing our adult survey since 2006. I don't know if the dynamic areas were affected at all. I know that the submerged aquatic vegetation was severely affected. But I don't know anything about the sand waves. But the survey that John Ladd, the benthic mapping, early 2000s, for High Park area has been redone by Delaware. So we can do some comparisons. I know that they had talked about doing some comparisons of bottom structure and type and stuff since the images for a small.
It's post-storm?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. So we could look at that.
Like it might be important.
yes.
When you say the sand waves are dynamic, do you mean that the waves move around, or do you mean that the places where you find sand waves move around?
So the sand waves move, the areas of sand waves, I think, stays similar, but the waves, the sediment themselves moves through the area. And I think, you know, John Madsen, who works with Dewayne, he thinks they move relatively quickly through the area, you know, depending on, so we have some timelines to movement of sediment.
I'm curious about the impacts of the anchoraging stuff, and I guess Dwayne's talk is going to be about it, but it seems if you're in a dynamic area, you know, the drag would then get brushed over fairly quickly. You know?
Right, so I think some of the area is on the edge of dynamic. We can talk a little bit about more about, yeah, how quickly they fill in. Yeah, a little bit of data.
Okay, anybody else?
So from this area, if you're congregating there, how far is it to the nearest spawning area?
Not far. Not far, no. So we did a whole bunch of telemetry work, and we found that the fish prefer dynamic sands. Well, that's because that's not visitors. I was like, well, this doesn't seem like a good place to spawn. But it's not just, we didn't catch them when they were spawning, we catch them when they were just hanging out before they were ready.
All right, well, thank you very much.